The one thing that keeps coming up inside the building this week, and the one factor nobody in New England can ignore no matter how much they try to downplay it, is Denver. Not the Broncos roster, not the noise from the stands, but the reality of playing football at 5,280 feet above sea level. That matters. It has always mattered, and history tells Patriots fans exactly why this conversation feels uncomfortable. The Patriots have never won a playoff game at Mile High Stadium. For trips, for losses, different eras, different rosters, same result. That alone is enough to make any fan uneasy heading into Sunday. The altitude is not a myth. It is not media hype. Empower Field sits over a mile above sea level, while Gillette Stadium is basically at zero. That difference means thinner air, less oxygen, quicker fatigue, and faster dehydration. These effects do not usually show up early in the game when adrenaline is high. They show up in the second half when legs feel heavier, lungs burn more, and recovery between plays becomes harder. Denver has built an advantage around that reality for decades, and teams know it. Some organizations try to counter it by arriving days early to acclimate. The problem is that doctors say real acclimation takes 10 to 14 days. Anything less is mostly psychological. That is why Mike Vrabel made a clear, firm decision this week. No early trip. No change in routine. The Patriots will travel the same way they always do, trusting, conditioning, preparation, and focus, rather than trying to fight biology in 48 hours. Vrabel's thinking is simple. If you cannot fully adapt, do not pretend that you can. Be ready, be disciplined, and play. This approach might frustrate some fans, but it fits Vrabel's personality and his message to the locker room: do not search for excuses. Do not obsess over things you cannot control. Play clean football and let the rest take care of itself. And there is evidence that altitude alone does not decide games. The Jacksonville Jaguars went into Denver earlier this season and won 34-20. They did not survive, they dominated. That result is proof that preparation and execution can override the environment. Players inside the Patriots locker room are echoing that mindset. Christian Gonzalez openly said the altitude does not concern him. He played in Colorado before going to Oregon and understands what it feels like. From his perspective, this is not some mysterious force, it is football. Oxygen will be on the sidelines, rotations will be managed. The goal is to avoid mental mistakes that turn a tough environment into a disaster. What makes this matchup even more intense is the noise coming from the other sideline. Denver's head coach, Sean Payton, did not take the usual humble approach. He openly suggested his team would have plenty of rest after this game, implying a guaranteed win and a trip to the Super Bowl. That kind of talk is rare from a head coach and instantly becomes bulletin board material. Patriots players notice those comments. They always do. Payton has never been shy, never been subtle, and his confidence has crossed into arrogance before. Patriots fans remember how trash talk has backfired on teams earlier this season, and this situation feels familiar. From a football standpoint, the Patriots' path to winning is not complicated, but it is demanding. Everything starts with protecting Drake Maye. Vrabel has emphasized ball security and keeping the quarterback upright. Last week's mistakes cannot carry over. Every possession must end with a kick. No turnovers. No short fields. Julian Edelman's old rule still applies. Extra point, field goal, or punt. Nothing else. Denver cannot be given help, especially at home. Defensively, pressure is non-negotiable. The Patriots have won playoff games by making quarterbacks uncomfortable, and that formula has not changed. Blitzing, disguising coverages, and forcing quick decisions will define this game. If the Patriots allow clean pockets, they will pay for it. If they attack, they give themselves a real chance to control the tempo. So this is where things stand. A familiar building, a painful history, a coach who refuses to change routine, a young quarterback who must protect the football, and an opposing head coach who has already talked himself into the headlines. Patriots fans have every reason to feel nervous, hopeful, and conflicted all at once. The question now is simple, and it is one every fan should be asking themselves heading into Sunday. Does the altitude truly worry you, or do you believe this team is built to overcome it? Let me know what you think in the comments. What makes this game even more revealing is that it strips everything down to fundamentals. There is no mystery opponent here, no unfamiliar environment that requires reinventing the wheel. The Patriots know exactly what Denver wants to do, and Denver knows exactly what New England wants to do. At this point in the season, surprises are rare. Execution is everything. That is why the altitude conversation, as real as it is, cannot become a crutch. The moment players start thinking about breathing instead of assignments, the game is already slipping away. From everything coming out of practice, the Patriots are treating this like a stress test of their identity. Vrabel has been clear behind closed doors that this trip is about mental toughness as much as physical conditioning. Drives will be longer. Rest between snaps will feel shorter. Mistakes will be punished faster than usual. That environment exposes teams that lack discipline. It rewards teams that stay calm when fatigue sets in. This is where leadership matters, especially from veterans who understand how quickly momentum can swing in a building like this. You can already sense that the Patriots are trying to lean into that challenge rather than shy away from it. There has been an emphasis on situational football all week. Third downs, red zone possessions, 2-minute execution. These are the moments where altitude shows itself the most. A missed tackle because legs feel heavy, a blown coverage because communication breaks down, a false start because the crowd noise and fatigue collide. These are small things on paper, but in Denver, they decide games. Another layer to this matchup is emotional control. When a head coach on the other side publicly assumes victory, the temptation is to respond emotionally. The Patriots cannot afford that. Flags, late hits, unnecessary jawing after the whistle, those are silent killers on the road. Vrabel's teams have always been built around composure, and this game demands it. Let Denver talk, let the crowd scream, let the air feel thin. None of that changes the snap count or the play call. There is also an opportunity here that should not be overlooked. A win in this building does more than move the standings. It changes perception. It flips a long-standing narrative that has followed this franchise every time they step into Denver. Players hear that history. Fans feel it. Ending that streak would not just be another road win, it would be a psychological breakthrough, especially for a younger roster still learning what it means to win in hostile environments.
At the same time, a loss here would raise uncomfortable questions. Not about effort, but about growth. Can this team close games when conditions are stacked against them? Can they protect a young quarterback on the road without mistakes creeping in? Can they finish defensively when fatigue hits hardest? These are questions that cannot be answered in film rooms or press conferences. They are answered only on Sundays like this one. That is why this game feels heavier than a typical regular season matchup. It is not about excuses. It is not about history alone. It is about whether this Patriots team can impose its will when everything around them says it should be harder than usual. When the air is thin, when the noise is loud, and when the other sideline is already celebrating. So as this game approaches, the focus narrows to one truth: play clean, play fast, and play together for 60 minutes. If the Patriots do that, the altitude becomes just another detail. If they don't, it becomes the story everyone points to afterward. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this game is the moment the Patriots finally rewrite their Denver narrative, or does the history still weigh too heavy? What cannot be ignored either is how much this game serves as a measuring stick for where the Patriots truly are in this phase of the rebuild. Games like this compress everything. There is no margin for sloppy execution, no cushion created by weather in your favor or a friendly crowd. Every flaw is magnified, and every strength is tested repeatedly. For a coaching staff still establishing its stamp on the roster, this is the kind of environment that reveals which habits are real and which ones disappear under pressure. You can feel that this week has been about accountability. Each position group understands that fatigue is not an excuse for poor technique. Offensive linemen still have to keep their pad level. Defensive backs still have to finish plays. Linebackers still have to communicate clearly even when lungs are burning. That is why the Patriots are emphasizing rotation and depth. This game will not be won by 11 players. It will be won by the entire active roster doing their job when their number is called. Another subtle but important factor is pacing. Offensively, the Patriots want to control tempo, not just time of possession. Sustained drives do more than put points on the board. They keep the defense fresh and quiet the crowd. Even a drive that ends in a field goal can feel like a win in this building if it drains clock and forces Denver to sit on the sideline. That kind of patience is difficult, especially when emotions run high, but it is necessary here. Defensively, the emphasis has been on tackling efficiency. Missed tackles in Denver are brutal, not just because they extend plays, but because chasing receivers at altitude compounds fatigue quickly. Wrap up, finish plays, and get off the field. That message has been drilled in all week. The Patriots know they cannot afford to defend extended drives snap after snap without consequences later in the game. This is also where coaching adjustments matter. Halftime in Denver is not just about scheme. It is about recovery. Hydration, oxygen, and communication all come into play. The teams that handle those details will usually look noticeably sharper in the fourth quarter. The Patriots believe they have prepared for that, but preparation only shows itself when legs feel heavy and focus is tested. What makes this matchup compelling for fans is that it sits right on the line between progress and setback. A disciplined, competitive performance signals that the foundation is solid, even if the final score is tight. A breakdown-filled loss, on the other hand, reopens questions about maturity and consistency. That is why this game matters beyond 1 week. It feeds directly into how this season is evaluated moving forward. So now it comes down to belief. Belief in preparation, belief in conditioning, belief that this team can stay composed when the environment is actively working against them. History says Denver is a problem. Opportunity says this is the moment to change that story. Which side wins out is something we are about to find out. There's also an underlying tension in this matchup that goes beyond scheme or environment, and it is something longtime Patriots fans will recognize immediately. For years, this franchise was the standard for composure on the road. Hostile crowds, bad weather, playoff pressure, none of it mattered. Somewhere along the way, that edge faded, and games like this are where it has to be rebuilt. Not talked about, not promised, proven. Inside the locker room, the message has been consistent. Nobody outside that room expects the Patriots to walk into Denver and control the game. That reality can be a burden, or it can be fuel. Vrabel has made it clear which one he prefers. This is not about earning respect from the media or silencing narratives in one afternoon. It is about stacking evidence that this team can travel, compete, and finish when conditions are uncomfortable. That is how trust is built internally. Another important layer is how this game tests communication. Crowd noise in Denver is relentless, especially when momentum swings. Offensive timing, defensive checks, and special teams coordination all become harder. Teams that struggle to communicate cleanly often unravel quickly here. The Patriots have spent extra time this week reinforcing silent counts, hand signals, and nonverbal cues. Those details do not show up on highlight reels, but they decide drives. Special teams, in particular, could quietly tilt this game. Field position matters more at altitude. A short field can flip momentum instantly, while a well-placed punt can steal a possession. Discipline on returns, lane integrity on coverage, and consistency in the kicking game all become amplified. This is the kind of game where one hidden yardage mistake can undo an otherwise solid performance. There's also the psychological component of responding to adversity. At some point in this game, something will go wrong. A big play allowed, a stalled drive, a penalty at the wrong time. How the Patriots respond in that moment will tell fans more than any stat line. Do they press? Do they panic? Or do they reset and move on to the next snap? That response is the difference between teams that are learning to win and teams that are still hoping to. For younger players, this is a defining experience. Games and environments like Denver stay with you. They teach you how your body reacts under stress, how your mind handles noise and fatigue, and how quickly confidence can swing. Those lessons matter later in the season and in future years. Win or lose, this game becomes part of the foundation for this group. That is why the result, while important, is not the only thing being evaluated. The way the Patriots compete, adjust, and finish will shape how this team is viewed internally going forward. Are they resilient? Are they disciplined? Are they connected when things get difficult? Those answers matter just as much as the final score. So as kickoff approaches, everything narrows to execution and belief. Belief that preparation matters. Belief that discipline travels. Belief that history does not dictate the present unless you allow it to. This game will not be easy. It was never going to be. But it is honest. It will show exactly where this Patriots team stands right now. What adds even more weight to this moment is how narrow the margins are for this team right now. The Patriots are not built to blow teams out. They are built to grind, to stay within striking distance, and to force opponents to earn every inch. In a place like Denver, that reality becomes magnified. One mistake does not just cost yardage, it costs energy. One mental lapse does not just extend a drive, it keeps the defense on the field when recovery is already harder. That is why attention to detail has been the quiet theme all week. This is also where trust between players becomes critical. Offensive linemen trusting the call, receivers trusting timing, defensive backs trusting leverage and help. When fatigue sets in, hesitation is deadly. The Patriots know that if they start thinking instead of reacting, Denver will take advantage immediately. That is why repetition and simplicity have been emphasized. Not fewer concepts, but clearer execution. Everyone knowing exactly where they are supposed to be and why. Another element that cannot be ignored is momentum management. In this stadium, momentum feels heavier. When the crowd gets involved, it comes in waves. Teams that allow those waves to build often find themselves overwhelmed before they realize what is happening. The Patriots' challenge is to quiet the building whenever possible. A first down run, a short completion, a defensive stop on third down. These small wins stack up and keep the environment from taking over the game. There is also a quiet confidence inside the building that this group is more prepared than outsiders realize. Not because they are perfect, but because they are realistic. They know the history. They know the challenges. They are not pretending this is just another road game. They are treating it as a test that requires discipline, patience, and resilience. That mindset matters, especially for a team still forming its identity. For fans watching at home, this is the type of game that reveals itself slowly. It may not be flashy, it may not be comfortable, but every series, every adjustment, every response to adversity adds context. By the fourth quarter, you usually know exactly who a team is, whether they bend or break, whether